I came out of university, I've just done 3 years of this, I've got my education, I'm done. The freedom of the apprenticeship allowed me to go through many different routes and explore different opportunities of how to sell. You can take it at any pace you want. For someone who's very monkey see, monkey do type of work, it was brilliant.
Welcome to the ISP NextGen podcast, where we speak to salespeople about their journeys to help you demystify the profession. Now, today's session is part of our National Apprenticeship Week special, where we speak to sales professionals who have recently completed a sales apprenticeship. And we are joined by Megan Liebins, Success Sales Representative at Kerber Supply Chain, who has recently just completed the Level 4 Sales Executive Apprenticeship. Megan, thank you very much for joining me. Did you want to take a minute to introduce yourself and tell the audience a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much for having me today. So I work with a company called Kerber Supply Chain. I work within the voice industry of that as a customer success representative, and was previously a junior accounting manager for several months as well. It's all very new to me, the sales world. It's something I've never stepped into before, so I'm excited to talk about that. I am still very much learning everything, and I'm really interested in kind of like the opportunity of sales and where that can lead for the future as well.
Brilliant. And what was it that sort of piqued your interest in a career in sales?
So I actually never involved like wanting to go into sales in the first place. I was very based in hospitality, so it was kind of like the nuance of it, of like what it could be, and what it could offer me for my future as well.
I think that people coming from hospitality, it sort of teaches so many soft skills that are transferable to sales. I come from a hospitality background. I think it's a high pressure environment typically. So it really does sort of lay the foundations in terms of those soft skills, which is great. Now, sales apprenticeships are becoming more and more popular as a way into the profession. Keen to discuss how valuable they are and how they've helped to shape your career so far. So what was it that drew you towards a sales apprenticeship?
So again, I think it's kind of like the unknown of it. I'd heard about sales jobs and kind of the stereotypical, it's on the phone, you're getting people to buy things constantly and you're that one person that harasses. But actually looking into it a lot more, it's not. It's the opportunity and it's a community, which I think is the biggest thing that really drew me into it. And the many soft skills, like you said, that are very transferable from hospitality over into like a more of a corporate job like sales. And it was really exciting to kind of explore those. And I think that's what I wanted to learn, kind of what the stereotype of it had been and what I can learn from it.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's such a good point, right? For many people, sales is still a bit of a dirty word. You know, when you think salesperson, you either think dodgy car salesman or double glazing salesperson, and it's really anything but. At its core, what we're doing is helping people to solve their problems. And I think the apprenticeship is such a fantastic vehicle to actually change those perceptions and set a standard of what professional selling is, which is fantastic. Now, what was the most surprising or perhaps unexpected thing that you learned during the apprenticeship?
I think the freedom of it, like you said, there's it's a car salesman or like double glazing or somebody trying to upsell like a coffee over the counter type of thing, those type of sales. But the freedom of the apprenticeship allowed me to go through many different routes and explore different opportunities of how to sell and why people choose those ways of selling for the customer to help them solve that problem, or completely avoid that problem altogether. So it was that opportunity to look at different areas and work with different people as well as while learning that.
Yeah, that was brilliant. And do you think that the apprenticeship has given you an advantage compared to any other route into sales?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, going from hospitality into more of a corporate job into supply chain is a huge bridge to get over. So I think having that extra bit of education and that support and knowledge of what the sales world is and how to deal with that in more of the like corporate jargon and the way people hold themselves. And again, the reason for selling, that's so important. So having a bit of an advantage of knowing why and how while still doing the job was absolutely huge.
Yeah, I love that idea of that bridge across into sales. And in terms of jargon, we love an acronym in sales. We'll create one at any opportunity. Nice. So, we've spoken a bit about those soft skills that were sort of earned in your time in hospitality. How has completing the sales apprenticeship helped you to develop some of the core sales skills?
I think it's really defined what I believed I had originally, like communication. I love talking to people. I love hearing people's stories and why they've chosen a certain path in life. So it really defined that type for me and understanding how to talk to different people, like personality types, for example. I had no idea that was such a big thing as it is, especially in the kind of world we're in today. So that was really interesting to explore that area of it and to define that skill of communication and how to speak to people. Also, a huge presentation part as well, not only with holding yourself, but how to present your company, the product you're selling, and how you're selling it as well. That was something I didn't think I'd need to learn. It was like, again, previously, it's like normal over the counter stuff for sales or, pick up the phone. I want to sell you this about a visual. Understanding that was also really, really important for me. And I think was one of the big things that defined it.
Were there any other moments during the apprenticeship that you feel have significantly impacted your growth and or career trajectory?
This is my opinion on apprenticeships altogether. Like, I came out of university, went straight into the hospitality world. Never think I was going to come into the sales role that I'm in today, and kind of going, I don't want to go back to school. I've just done 3 years of this. I've got my education. I'm done. But actually sitting down and reading the criteria and what it can offer me was the more intriguing part of it. And you can take it at any pace you want. And I think having the option to do it while you're at the job as well for someone who's very monkey see, monkey do type of work, it was brilliant because if I had a question or I had kind of an example from a test paper or something, I could go to my colleagues, I could go to my manager and go, can you explain to me how we do this as a company and how this is important to us? So having that comparison was really, really important. And that's the kind of the openness apprenticeships give you.
Yeah, yeah, that flexibility, as you mentioned, and the idea of, I think that the majority, and I'll say that, you know, in yeah, loosely, the majority of sales training is very good at focusing on the acquisition of knowledge, but not so much on the application of that knowledge, which turns it into a skill. And being able to learn and do simultaneously, it really gives you that opportunity to put into practice what you've just learned and really sort of cement it in place, um, which is great. Now, what advice would you give to someone that is maybe considering a sales apprenticeship but is unsure as to whether it's the right choice for them?
I'd say just do it. I say if you're tired of education, like I was, I didn't want to go back into school, into that setting. You can pick. And I think having that freedom and that flexibility of what type of apprenticeship you want to do, what areas you want to study, doing it while you're doing the job as well, it's completely in your hands. You are the master of this education, of the apprenticeship, which is so important, which isn't necessarily flexibility people have had previously in school. So I think now going into the big world and the big sales world, as we know it, and it's called, it's so important to be able to be a master of your own destiny with it, and especially with education. So I think that's a really important thing. Just go ahead and do it. You've got full control of it.
Now, I've got a couple of other questions which I'm going to save for the final part of the podcast. But before we go there, just a quick sort of palate cleanser question. If you could thank one person who supported you throughout the apprenticeship, who would it be and why?
It would be my close friend and colleague, Steve Robinson. He joined a few months after I did with the company, and he also enrolled onto the apprenticeship as well. And I think having somebody else who's going through it at the same time of you is really important. We're in two very different roles, so having an apprenticeship curriculum that is so vast and there's different subjects, having somebody else to compare and contrast that information with, and oh, well, I've got this for this answer. Well, what have you got? Can I have a look at your text? It's so important, and that support is really, really detrimental to anybody's education pathline. So it's, yeah, and he passed with the same apprenticeship as well. So it's really, really, really special that we finished and we passed together.
Nice. Shout out, Steve. Congratulations to you on passing too. Now, final section, and I will let you get on with your day. If you could share one key takeaway from your apprenticeship journey with our listeners, what would it be?
Oh, wow. There's so much, I think, that in value of what an apprenticeship gives, and it is very much in your hands. It's your destiny. There is so many different types of apprenticeships and different companies that will allow those as well. I think if you're interested in it, just have that conversation with your manager, with the people around you, and just discuss it and then go for it. I think it's so important on to yourself and to a professional balance as well. To have that up your sleeve and to have a little something else like, yeah, I passed an apprenticeship with my work. I've done this as well as everything else. I think it's a little confidence booster, and I feel like everybody needs that in life. So absolutely just go for it.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And were there any resources that you found really helpful as you were sort of exploring what was out there, what was available to you in terms of apprenticeships?
So one of the main things was LinkedIn, actually. So being very new to the professional world and having this professional platform, it's not your normal Facebook. It's like you'd share your pictures with everybody else. It's very much work focused with a bit of personal, which I think is great. And I found some great communities on there, some great connections of other people who were going through an apprenticeship. And the company that was putting me through mine as well, they had a huge network of little chat groups and little forums. So I thought that was really special. And again, having a colleague who was going through it at the same time as well was also really, really, really great.
Brilliant. And what's next for you, Megan? How do you plan to build upon the foundations that the apprenticeship has laid for you?
So I'm one of the few who have passed the apprenticeship within the business today. So it's really exciting to kind of see what doors they can open. I'm talking of more of a potential global role with the company, which is really, really interesting, and seeing how I can help other people being brought into, wanting to start an apprenticeship and leading that team. I'd love to be able to be a team lead one day and really pass little knowledges that I've got from the apprenticeship down on some people as well, and really support everybody the way I've been supported.
And that idea of mentorship, being able to pass and share the knowledge that you provide is really, really meaningful. So hats off to you there, Megan. Thank you so much for joining me. I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your day. If anyone did want to reach out and find out a little bit more about your experience, or, is looking for any insights that you've picked up along the way, I guess LinkedIn is probably the best place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to separate that little personal and professional outlook there. So yeah, I'm always posting. I'm always interested in what people have to say. So my inbox is always open. I'd be more than happy for someone to reach out.
To everyone listening, until next time. Next time on the ISP NextGen podcast, National Apprenticeship Week specials.
My director at the time asked me if I wanted to do some creative writing. Get into the mind of a sales professional as an angel or a parrot, but the apprenticeship told me you are a part of this wider machine. You can make a real change.